Welcome back. So we're going to Literacy Day. World Literacy Day was on the 8th of September, and we're asking the question, how educated is Nigeria? The importance of education for individual, social, and national development is globally recognized. Equally, it's a lifelong process because no matter how much we know, there is always more to learn. Literacy is an essential tool in our endeavors to eradicate poverty, lower child mortality, and control population growth, amongst others. It's also celebrated to encourage people towards getting continuous education in order to better understand their responsibilities for their families, societies, and countries, even in the place of leadership and politics. I rest my case.
You had to rope that in.
Well, I mean, but yes, right. It's estimated that some 775 million adults lack minimum literacy skills. 1 in 5 adults is still not literate, and 2/3 of them are women. Ooh.
Oh dear.
60.7 million children are out of school, and many more attend irregularly or drop out. Sounds there, but we have 3 guests here to help us discuss all of this. We have Itoro Ugoji, as I say, ladies first, who is an early year professional. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Yami Fayemi, education consultant, is also here. Thank you for joining us. And Olufemi Adeniregun, a youth development consultant. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, before we go into the topic proper, may I just ask Itoro, what is the meaning of early year professional?
Okay, that's succinctly put. That's someone who is educated and trained in working with kids in the age bracket of 0 to 5. So that's the group that is termed early years. That's a critical,
Trouble teaching? Is that another name for it?
Not exactly.
Okay.
It's much more than it encompasses intellectual, physical development. It's a lot more than just the rudimentary teaching.
Okay.
Okay. So, staying with you, since we're here, the statistics we just read out, or I just read out, 775 million adults lack minimum literacy skills. That's a global statistics. What's your take? How do you react to that?
That's there, like you put it. And considering that these adults were once infants, so clearly the foundation was shaky. Clearly.
Or non-existent.
or non-existent, absolutely. Little or no attention was paid, to that. Because really, when adults are adults, they're already formed and set in their ways, so there's very little. This is not to say that, it's there's a catastrophe. I think it can still be remedied, but it's just also to draw our attention to the fact that it is important that we pay attention to the development of these kids, early enough, so that we avoid or we avert, this kind of gloomy statistics that we are staring at, or they're staring us in the face right now.
Okay, Mr. Fawemi, I believe that there is a law in Nigeria that every child of school age there's a basic level that is required of all Nigerians, 100%. But we still see children who are not in school. Is it that we still haven't appreciated the value of education? Or what do you think is the reason why some parents will actually keep their children at home from going to school?
Okay, thank you for that question. I think one of the things we need to appreciate is the fact that so of those millions, Nigeria is estimated 3 countries account for half of the out-of-school children in the world. Nigeria is one of them. Estimates children between 12.5 million to 10 million. Government contests that and says not to that are not in school. So the problem in Nigeria is twofold. So you have estimated 12.5 million children not in school. So literacy is not even a subject. Then you have the children in school who are not learning, because schooling is not learning.
No.
Schooling is not education. So it's been found, a study was done and it found that a study of the capacity of a child in year 4, primary 4 in Nigeria to learn seems to be at the level of a primary 1 child somewhere else. Of course, one of the reasons is early child. Every child who has the right kind of environment for early child education will learn to read 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, can read, can speak English before he gets to school. So part of the challenge is the gap there of the early child part. So that's one problem. In fact, there's a study that UNESCO did in Nigeria and assessed all our levels of education. The weakest and the most ineffective is early child education. That's actually the part that is under the responsibility of the local government system. So you see how politics influences education. Of course, we don't need to talk about the quality of our local government. So why will a parent not take his child to school? There's just a couple of reasons. One is there's economic dimension to it. So a parent who has to have a child at Hawk, that comes there. There's also the location of schools. It's been found that if a child doesn't have a school within a short distance from his house, actually measured in, not in kilometers, in meters, the likelihood of attending school is worse. Now, it's not a problem in the rural areas because there are no cars, there are no expressways to cross. So that's another thing. And if you look at a state like Lagos, the rate of creation of public schools is very low. The greatest time we have an explosion of having public schools in Lagos State was between 1979 and 1983. I dare say within that 5-year period, more schools were built in Lagos State by Lagos State government from 1983 till now.
Oh my God.
So the challenge of people not getting schools to go to, of course, they are forced to go away. And then the last point is when a system is not committed to education. I say this because, you know, when you say there's a law, the law is not a recent law. In northern Nigeria, as far back as 1930s and 1940s, if you didn't take your child to school, your father will be jailed. The former vice president of Nigeria, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, father was jailed because of that. So it's not a recent law. We had a law that jailed fathers for not sending their children to school in the 40s. So why are we having 10.5 or 12? It's because there's no commitment on the part of government. I grew up in Ibadan. I remember the days of General Jembewa as governor of Oyo State. If Governor Jembewa was going to Agodi in the morning and he saw a child who was going to school late, you are in trouble. I mean, he will stop and deal with you. I saw it myself. So we have a government that is not interested. 1980, when Bolage was governor in Oyo State, his first term, Bolage writes a letter to every new student that joins the Oyo State's public school system. Writes you a personal letter to welcome you to school. So it's a question of when you don't see your leaders valuing education, there's a sense in which you lose out. The part of the society also comes in. So who are the people who celebrate today? So when they say end of year party in the state government, who did they invite? An artist who did not finish education? So what are you telling that guy? I go to schools where they say they are doing end of year party or prize giving day, and they bring a guy who didn't finish secondary school but can sing. And there's no problem if you can sing, in fact. You're just telling that child, listen, why are you wasting your time here? You too go get an instrument. Yeah. So there's a whole collaboration between parents who don't appreciate the value of education, between society and government. But the major fact, in my view, is girls are not being trained. If a mom went to school, the child will go to school under any circumstance. It's been established all over the world. So for me, the fulcrum that changes this radically is train a girl child. If the girl child is trained, a couple of things happen. One, if a girl is trained, the number of children is going to have is going to reduce. So this 3.3 population growth rate will change. The number of children that will not be immunized will reduce. That means that all the children that die from polio will end. The number of children that we give birth before they finish school will reduce. So once a girl child is educated, I dare say 7 of the most critical indicators of social development in a system like us changes. So
unfortunately, this stats also tell us that women are the ones who are least educated.
Absolutely.
So less attention is being paid to sending the girl child to school or educating the girl child. So we got a problem, haven't we?
Big problem.
Now let's go back to World Literacy Day, September the 8th. The sky is the limit. That is the theme. What exactly does that mean?
Well, unfortunately, a lot of things that has been said out there, I've done a lot of research and a lot of training myself, trying to find out why those things don't mean a lot in Nigeria. I mean, we say it, They write it down, you see it on the addresses. You know, our civil servants go for addresses all over the world, and when you read their papers, it's absolutely fantastic. But it's not implemented anywhere in Nigeria. And I try to find out why.
Hold on there. We'll just take a moment and we'll come back. We'll see if we can look at the why. Don't go away.